Okay, so I just got back from F9, basically Fast and the Furious 9. And yeah, I don't know where to begin with this movie. Um, Basically, it's a franchise that's been around for 20 years. And this movie felt like one of those movies where if Fast and the Furious 2 through 8 didn't exist and this was like a sequel 20 years later, is what this feels like. Spoilers for anyone watching this in the future and so forth who hasn't seen the movie, but they dig up a lot of characters from other movies for no real reason. I mean, not really. That's why it feels like a 20-year sequel. There was nothing in between. You know, hey, remember that movie 20 years ago? Well, here's these characters. They're on a wacky adventure. Oh, they meet this person. You remember them? And this person. You remember them. It very much felt like it. It felt... It felt like they kind of hobbled together writing in this movie. Instead of having... Like, I know, okay, I guess you should say, first off, that the Fast and the Furious movies, other than the first one, was never... writing was never their strong part. Not really. And after Fast and the Furious 3, they just didn't care about the writing. And you know what? We as viewers didn't care. But this movie here, I thought going into this movie it was going to be another just dumb movie, you know, string together, hit this, that, and that, just to move the plot along. But it really felt like they tried to cram too much into this movie. If you hear that rattling in the background, that's my cat playing with her toy. I think I might stop her. You done? Are you done? I'm trying to record something here. Okay, something else occurred to me about this movie. Okay, so, before I went and saw this movie, I watched Furious 7 and then Fate of the Furious, which is Fast and the Furious 8. Just because I'd never seen the 8th one. I also watched Hobbs and Shaw, but that's a spin-off, has nothing to do with this particular movie. And I remember when I watched Furious 7 that I didn't like it. And the reason I didn't like it was because it wasn't tightly written. The characters were deemed indestructible, essentially. Things they did, motivations and so forth, how much they could have planned ahead, all stupid. But after watching it the second time, I found myself laughing a lot. And I basically came to the conclusion that, obviously, as I said earlier, they're not supposed to be written well. They're dumb movies. They're big, dumb, turn your brain off movies. But something else occurred to me while watching 7 and 8 was I came to sort of my own conclusion that these movies are what I call, or just came up with, frat boy fantasies. It's basically what they are, right? Your typical fantasy movie, whether it be your Lord of the Rings, your Star Wars, your sci-fi movies, etc., there's always points in the movie where they do something and you kind of hand wave it away because it's science fiction, right? Like, for example, the Doctor Who, the Doctor shows up and he's got this pingle-ponger thingy, basically a lunchbox with things sticking out of it and a big swirly thing. And he said, I used it to track these monsters. And as a viewer, you're watching it going, well, yeah, he's the Doctor. He's an alien. He's technologically advanced. Why couldn't these things that he's scrambled together make this device that works? so you let it go, right? Same with fantasies. You watch a fantasy, the wizard has a spell that gets them out of a jam or gets them through a door or past the like guards, like in Star Wars. You know, when Obi-Wan does his little hand gesture to Jedi mind trick the stormtroopers. You believe it because we're in a fantasy world, right? You just go, oh, okay, why wouldn't a Jedi Master be able to do that? Why wouldn't a wizard be able to cast a spell? But in the Fast and the Furious movies, these are set in the real world, or at least what they can consider the real world. But they do things very similar to science fiction and fantasies, where, oh, we need to get through this door. Well, you know, this 300-pound man who's muscle, flesh and bone, but muscle, can just knock it down. Well, that doesn't happen in real life, but it's a fantasy. So when I was watching 7 and 8, that's what I came to my realization that these are frat boy fantasies. They're real life with a little sort of, don't take it too serious moments. So that's what I expected going into this 9th one. And the beginning of the movie, they did. They totally did. There's this one part in the movie where they're in a car chase, yet again, and they come up to a bridge, and it wasn't your standard, cement bridge or whatnot. It was one of those like rope bridges with wood planks as a bridge, like an old style Aztec bridge as it was. And of course, it was just wide enough to get a car through. They had to get 2 vehicles across this bridge while they're being chased, of course, by military and stuff like that. And the first car gets to the bridge, barely fits on it, and the rope breaks while they're crossing it. So, of course, as the bridge is starting to crumble, actually, I guess it would be this way here, it's starting to crumble, they're still driving on the bridge, and then it completely falls, but they barely make it to the other end. Which was dumb, but it was fun to see. And then later, the second car, which has no bridge, but there's one line left on the bridge, that they sort of cut off with the car. It wraps around the wheel of the car, and they swing across to the other side. I turned to my friend who was with me watching it, and I'm like, this movie is so dumb and so awesome at the same time. Because that's what I expected. I expected this movie to be turn your brain off, physics be damned, frat boy fantasy movie. And then about an hour into the movie, I started to get not mad but frustrated. Because they just kept adding dumb to their dumb. They kept defying physics. They kept just doing more and more outlandish crap that it became beyond fantasy to me, right? Now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 10, 15 years or less than that, I'll watch this movie again and just start chuckling to myself about how, oh, this is so dumb, but I'm so entertained. But I couldn't do it in that last hour of this movie. They bring someone back from the dead in this movie. Not from this movie, but from 6 movies ago. Somebody died 6 movies ago. Then they retconned it 3 movies later that actually he was killed by someone else. And then they retconned it to this movie where he didn't actually die. A shady corporation managed to get him out of there but still make it look like he died, and he's just been laying low all these years. It's very much out of your butt writing, right? They're like, we need to get this person, these people, and we need to go here and here and do this. And The other movies did that too, but they were at least were able to write something plausible as to why things happen. Now, I guess they did the same thing here, but I really wasn't buying it. I was not buying it. Another part of this movie that kind of irked me was also the fact that they had their setup, they had their bad guy setup, they had their MacGuffin setup, and then the middle part of the movie, it was a 2.5-hour movie, the middle part of the movie, they kind of padded it. We need to go here, meet this character from a past movie, meet this character from a past movie, talk about this, talk about our past, stuff like this, stuff like that. And then we had the ending conflict. And even the ending conflict wasn't that great, because the bad guy they introduced in the first part of the movie turns, like again, spoilers, turns turncoat in the last 5-10 minutes. Everybody forgives him, granted because he's the main character's brother. Oh yeah, by the way, the main character, this is the 9th movie, and we're just now hearing that he had a brother who's the bad guy, but isn't really the bad guy, because the bad guy from the 8th movie was captured in this movie, and turns out, oh, she was actually the bad guy of it all together? Yeah. However, I know I'm complaining a lot about this movie. I can't necessarily say it's a bad movie. You know? There are a lot of fun moments, a lot of moments where I laughed, a lot of ridiculous moments. Right? They did the one thing that a lot of people were like, oh, what are they going to do? Go to space? And they do! Two of the members of the team, they go to space in this movie. They strap a rocket to a car, put the car on top of an airplane, and fire it into space, wearing World War I scuba diving outfits as their space suits. Like, that I laughed at. That I was actually enjoying. Like, okay, this is dumb. That's why I can't say this movie's bad, but I can also say this movie's good. And I can't say this movie is meh. I don't know what to call this movie. Like, yeah. It is such a perplexing movie to watch. It's enjoyable here and there. Yes, turn your brain off, but even then, there's stuff you can't, your brain just doesn't want to turn off. And, I guess my final point I'd say is, if somebody came up to me and say, would you recommend it? All I can really say to them is, if you enjoyed the last 3 or 4 Fast and the Furious movies, you will probably enjoy this movie, but it will frustrate you. It's not a bad movie. It's not a good movie. I guess it's a dumb movie. It's dumber than any other movies. It's potentially dumber than the other movies combined. So really, that's all I can say about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say about this movie. It was just... I wasn't bored. I wasn't angry. I was just frustrated and laughing at the same time. So take with that what you will. Alright? Anyways, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.